Welcome. It's good to be back with you, and I have to tell you, I am as excited about what we have in store today as I have been for anything since the Mac Pro. That's that was tremendously exciting to me. Yes, I had delivery today. And we're going to discover some things about this machine. So hang with me. Okay, so here we are with the typical acrylic enclosure. It's obviously not a G3 blue and white because there's no blue. And with the blue and white, of course, you'd see the G3 on the side, which was kind of criticized at the time. I always liked that. Yet, you see the sawtooth over there, which was referred to as graphite. Well, that top looks to me more like a dark blue. And then the apple, not nearly as dark, but it actually matches the top of the computer. Now, we come around to the front. Ooh, look how shiny. These are the doors for the optical drive bays. Much like the 2010 Mac Pro, there are two optical drive bays, although generally these machines only came with the one optical drive. That's a speaker, I think, and sometimes those get damaged. All right, so this is referred to, for obvious reasons, as the mirror drive door. Power Mac G4. All right, and here in the back, it again looks somewhat different from what you saw on the sawtooth. The ports on the back, we have two USB 1.1 ports, two FireWire 400 ports. I'm sorry, I'm not getting that. I'm looking at the computer instead of looking at the camera. Okay. So two USB 1.1 ports, two FireWire 400 ports. And here's the distinction. Most of the mirror drive door Power Mac G4s had only FireWire 400. This machine has got one FireWire 800 port. Ethernet, phone, the audio jacks, audio out, audio in. All right, and you can see here power connector, of course. The beginnings of the cheese grater effect already. All right. Now, as far as opening the machine up, exactly the same as with blue and white and with the sawtooth, but definite differences in logic board. All right, 4 PCI expansion slots. There are 4 RAM DIMMs. All those slots are populated. I was kind of hoping one wouldn't be. It's got 1.5 gigabytes. It can actually address 2 gigabytes. I had one 512 DIMM, but I'll just have to get another one. Graphics card. There's an AGP port in there. All right. This does have I don't know if you can, how well you can see it there. An Airport Extreme. Yeah, there it is. Airport Extreme card. Right, there's the battery. All right. 2 hard drives, both well settled into the caddy there. Now, interesting here, there's an IDE slot here with no cable to it. We have an IDE cable connected here, but it doesn't go to anything. And there's a couple of Molex connectors here. So there is provision here. You have to use a Molex splitter, which is easy enough to do. But it would appear, as best I can tell without taking this thing out, which I should not do right now, we do have an optical drive in the top bay. The second bay is empty, but there are connections there certainly to add a second optical drive and to add what would appear to be 2 more hard drives, and there's the caddy for those hard drives right here. So there's certainly ample room for expansion on the inside of this machine. Look at that heatsink. Heatsinks have become really much bigger since the blue and white and then even the sawtooth. Now, it is true, this is supposed to have 1 gigahertz G4 processor. Looking at that heatsink, I'm thinking, geez, are there maybe 2 processors in there? There is a model of this with 2 processors, but I don't think this is one. That's what I was actually looking for to begin with. All right, so that's the inside of the machine. But as the saying goes, but wait, there's more. In buying these vintage computers, I have been trying to spend no more than $100. I've often gotten them for less than $100. And of course, the shipping boosts that up, but still. And of course, there's a couple that were damaged that I got for free. And I have on a couple of occasions paid more than that. For this machine, I paid a lot more, and it's not exactly what I was looking for. I was looking for one of the dual G4s, so there would actually be the 2 processors there. However, we have other things. We have here the Apple Pro keyboard and mouse. These are exactly the keyboard and mouse that would have shipped with this machine. The mouse looks to be almost immaculate, may never have been used. I don't know, I never could adapt to the 1-button Apple mouse, but there it is, and that's something. The keyboard has been through a lot more wear. You see there's a lot of yellowing in here, and there are quite a few marks in there. There are marks on the keys. It is possible to take off the acrylic enclosure, and so maybe I might be able to clean that up some, but I'm pretty good. The computer itself is nearly immaculate. There's hardly even any dust on the inside. All right, but the big thing. This, my friends, is a 23-inch Apple Cinema HD display. The computer was introduced, it's funny, it didn't have that much of a life, I should tell you that. It was introduced in late January of 2003. It was discontinued in late June of 2003. So it had a current shelf life for Apple of about 6 months before it was replaced, looking way in the back there, by the aluminum Mac G5s. Not that one directly, there was one in between the two. All right, the computer when new, at its base, and this has been upgraded above the base, but at its base, the bottom line price was $1,500. The display, on the other hand, just the display was $3,500. Right, the cinema displays came in a variety of sizes. They were initially introduced with a 20-inch, then 22. This is the second generation of that. These had that acrylic enclosure really to match the Power Macs. This was the top of the line professional monitor at the time. When the Power Mac G5s came out with the aluminum enclosure, they released essentially the same monitors, but in an aluminum enclosure, so that would match. All right, now looking in the back, the cord is already connected there. That's one of the downsides of this monitor. It has to connect via an ADP port. That's Apple Display Port. The MDD mirrored drive door G4 that I've got is the only one to which I could actually connect this monitor. Although you're supposed to be able to get an adapter so you could use a DVI port and accomplish the same thing. I find that a little surprising. This one cord actually delivers not only the video signal, but the power to the monitor. There's no place to plug in power to this. It's here. It also delivers USB to these two ports here on the back of the monitor. Now, it is all USB 1.1, but still, having more ports, always a nice thing. These stands, the acrylic stands here, down here, and particularly the one in the back, very often have not survived. These are in excellent, excellent condition. There was even still shipping film. In fact, there's still a little bit on the other side there, on that portion of it. The only marks here and here, there are marks. I went over that a little bit with a magic eraser sponge, but nothing came off. We'll see. But still, considering from 2003, this is nearly immaculate. Now, the interesting thing, the computers will usually go for something between 100 150, depending on how they're equipped and what kind of condition they're in. As I said, this one is immaculate. The displays, still to this day, are worth more than the computers. Now, I went on eBay and checked out a bunch of displays. There are some that are quite a bit less, usually the ones that have broken stands or some kind of damage. The kind of condition this was in, you're seeing really good condition ones at least listing for between 200 and 250. Now, is anybody paying that for them? I don't know. I have never used one of these displays. I'm going to be really curious to boot this entire system up just to see, what does this look like? Is it in fact all working? Everything looks incredibly good. So someone obviously took extremely good care of this system. I would be willing to bet that this is all the original equipment, that keyboard and mouse are in fact the ones that came with the computer in the first place. The stand was a separate purchase, but it was the flagship monitor at the time that computer was sold. I would be willing to bet that this was purchased right along with it. Hey, the only thing that would make it better would be if they'd had the original boxes, but I'm not going to complain. This is exciting. Now, cross your fingers, and if you're spiritually inclined, as I am, maybe offer up a prayer that all of this stuff actually still works, because it is beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to have to spend some time here setting it all up. You'll be amazed because it'll be just a second and you're going to see the whole thing set up. Well, now, to coin a phrase, the moment of truth. Always a good sign. Even better sign. Oh, this display is gigantic. I mean, the screen is not bigger than a normal one, but the sheer size overall. And in fact, that must be a dead PRAM battery. But hey, it started up. Okay, well, all better. All right. I am using the original keyboard and mouse that came with the machine. Well, I was saying about the display. It is really heavy. The display by itself weighs about 25 pounds, and the computer too is quite a bit heavier than either the Blue and White or the Sawtooth. All right, so let's see what we got here. 1 gigahertz PowerPC G4, which is what we expected. Megabyte of L3 cache. 1.75 gigabytes. I did put that one extra 512 DIMM in, so it's reading it all. I'll just have to get one more now, and yeah, then we'll have the full 2 gig that we should have here. All right, how about more info? All right. All there. Bluetooth, it's reading that dongle that I basically leave attached. All right. Oh, good. It does have a burner. DVD-ROM with burn support. That's a good thing. Firewire, maximum up to 800 megabytes a second, which is the telling thing. This machine, as I mentioned earlier, was only current for about 6 months. It got replaced once the G5s started to be released. They basically kept the MDD, mirrored drive door machine, available as a lower price option, and they bumped it down again. They took out that Firewire 800 port since they didn't want this machine to be looked at fully as competition for the G5s. All right, graphics. GeForce 4MX. Okay. Apple Cinema HD display. That's all where it should be. PC cards, there's none in there. And the 3 slots for PCI cards are empty. I am getting another USB 2 card to put in there. And, I'll take a look at what other things might be helpful to have go into this machine. There could be a variety of things. Peripherals, SCSI, USB. And I might just take that card out of the sawtooth. I mean, I'm far from done with the sawtooth. I like that machine. Apple Pro keyboard, Apple optical USB mouse, all of those connected via USB. Oh, and the studio display, that's interesting. The studio display was actually the predecessor to the cinema display, but it also had USB ports. So yeah, there are two USB ports that are on the keyboard. The mouse is plugged into one of those, and the Bluetooth dongle is plugged into one. Of the two USB ports on the I/O on the back, the keyboard is plugged into one of those, but there are still those two on the back of the display itself. And the power seems to be working. It all seems to be working. Good heavens. All right. Airport's currently turned off. Yeah, I turned it off because I've got it plugged in via Ethernet. I did think it would, well, beside the point. All right. Got anything else to look at here? Any startup items that I'm unaware of? Clearly this was all set up because it didn't boot into the setup. It just booted right into the user account. All right. Well, that's good. This is all looking very, very good. Look at system preference. Oh, look, there's a lot of stuff in the top. Firefox. Camino. I haven't seen Camino in a long, long time. That's a Mozilla-based OS X only browser. It hasn't been current for years. I doubt that it'll get it. 10.4 is already installed. That saves me a little time. All right. Oh, look at that. New Office is there. How handy. All right. Accounts. eMac. I'm gonna have to write the seller and see if he knows what the password to that is. Otherwise, I'll just reinstall Tiger. There's a folder on the desktop, isn't there? Okay, I wanted to see Classic. Yeah, there appears to be a system folder. Let's start Classic. Doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Okay, what kind of OS 9 applications do we have? Well, iMovie, Apple Works 6. That's good. This machine was one of the first of the Power Macs that would not boot directly into OS 9 or earlier. It came pre-installed with Jaguar 10.2.3, as I recall. So I may throw Jaguar on there just for some conceit that I have about putting the original operating system on as well, but we'll figure that. And yeah, I don't have Leopard disks. This machine will run Leopard, and I think that would probably be a good idea. But there's some other things. I've got to get that other 512 DIMM of RAM to bring it up to the full 2 gig. And then put that one PCI card in so we get some USB 2 support. Then moving along from there, well, there's all kinds of things we can do, but I do also want to put in an SSD. This machine, from all of my reading, does not have that 128 gig limitation, so I will probably put in a 500 gig SSD. It'll still be connected via IDE since that's the connection it has, so it'll be on the slow side. But there, all right, what else have we got here? Oh, Office. Well, just to ensure everything works, let's open up Office. And there we go. So that, again, saves me a little time. I don't have to install it. It's already down there. All right. Now, realistically, Tiger, you didn't need to run things under Classic all that much, but it's nice to be able to. There are certain things, and a lot of people enjoy playing the old OS 8, OS 9 games that they played as kids. That wasn't me when I was a kid. I hate to admit it. Okay. Let's quit out of that. When I was a kid, home computers, personal computers did not exist. All right. What else can we see in system preferences? Displays. All right. Yeah, it's turned up. It's a little dim. It's turned up as much as it goes, but I mean, everything seems to be in very, very good shape. The screen, I mean, it's plenty bright enough. I shouldn't say that it's dim, and it's certainly plenty big enough. It's not quite as sharp as modern displays will tend to be. What's the other options here? Disable the power button. Oh, son of a gun, there's a power button on. Yeah, it's out of the screen here, but right down there is a power button on the display, which might be a little easier to reach. Disable display preferences, buttons, display preferences. But there's a settings button. It's right down here. How interesting. Okay, well, we don't need to disable any of that. All right, well, I'll tell you, I need to poke around here and explore everything that we have available on this beautiful system. And I'll certainly be reporting back with this as to how the system behaves. But, I mean, so far, this is a big win. It's the most beautifully maintained, clean system I think I've seen. I think I pointed out when I opened the thing up, there isn't even any substantial amount of dust on the inside. That never happens. This display is a real find. So, I mean, between the computer and the display and whatever the keyboard and mouse may be worth, I think I can certainly say that I got my money's worth on this. Oh yeah, I did want to check out this folder in the desktop. Adobe Reader, Camino. Yeah, just a whole bunch of installers for various apps, and whoever the previous owner was or previous user. I have no idea if the person who sold it to me, in fact, was the user. I kind of hope so, but may very well not be. But anyhow, if the original user, I can't imagine this has been in any more than one other person's hands to actually use. And whoever it was, I'd like to track that person down and just thank them for leaving this really very, very beautifully maintained system. Okay, you'll be hearing quite a bit more. I'm going to do some upgrades, some things there. I want to live with it over the course of this week, as I have done with other systems. If I could make it through the week with Sawtooth, I should be able to do that equally well with this FireWire 800 MDD. But it is quite a beautiful machine. So I hope you have enjoyed this look at this. And we will be back, I'm sure, in a few days with some more things. Thank you so much for your kind attention.